Kathleen, can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Blanco.
Here.
Commissioner Lopez.
Here.
Commissioner Dickerson.
Here.
Commissioner Mohajer.
Here.
Chair Seifert.
Here. And has everyone had a chance to look over the minutes, and do we have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm going to abstain because I had missed the meeting. So.
Any abstentions? Thank you. Moving on, we're going to go to the public comment period right now, and we're going to hear from Dana Eady.
Thank you. So this is the public comment time for items that are not on the agenda this evening. And so if you are on Zoom and you would wish to make a comment, please use the raised hand icon, and then you'll be recognized and unmuted and allowed to comment on the business at hand in the order received. The maximum comment time is 3 minutes or is otherwise directed by the chair. And if you're calling in and wish to be acknowledged on Zoom, please raise your hand by dialing *9 and identify yourself when unmuted.
Do we have anyone on Zoom?
I do have hands raised on Zoom, but I believe that they are here for the rider item, which will have a separate public comment item time. So if you are here for the rider item and you would like to comment on that, again, we'll have that come up at the time of that item. So there's still one hand raised on Zoom. So it's Andre. Oh, never mind. There's no hands raised on Zoom.
Perfect. Thank you, Dana. And I don't see anyone from the public wishing to speak, so we're going to move right into public hearings. We're also going to be making a slight switch. We're going to hear item 5B before item 5A tonight because of a conflict. So we're going to do the rider truck rental first. Do we have any ex parte from the commissioners? Commissioner Lopez?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I did speak with the applicant this morning, but it was just some information item. Thank you.
Perfect. Any others?
I had some email correspondence with the applicant, but it was about setting up a briefing. That did not occur.
Thank you, Commissioner Mohajer.
Yeah, I believe I got an inquiry also for a meeting, so I got an email, but did not correspond back and forth.
Oh, very nice. And I also met with Zoom with the team from UPC on this item. So let's go ahead and get right into, bless you. Item number 5B, rider truck rental and storage facility conditional use permit at 2365 Westgate Road. And can we hear from staff, please?
Thank you, Chair Seifert and Commissioners. I wanted to start off by introducing Greg Vine. Greg is an assistant planner in our office. This is his first time here at the Commission with you all, and he started working for our department back in August, and we're happy to have him here tonight. So I just wanted to introduce him to you all before he gets started, and he's going to do the presentation.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, so this evening I'm presenting the conditional use permit for Ryder Systems Incorporated to use an existing developed site for the rental of commercial vehicles to the public, screened outdoor storage of these vehicles, and to utilize the existing maintenance building exclusively for the upkeep of their rental fleet vehicles. So this 1-acre site is located at the southwest portion of the city, north of the intersection of South Westgate Road and West McCoy Lane, and south of West Bed-Aravia. The project is located within the PDCM Planned Development Commercial Manufacturing Zoning District, which surrounds the property to the north, east, and west, while the PDM1 Planned Development Light Manufacturing District lies to the south. Existing uses surrounding the project include multiple manufacturing businesses, vehicle repair, and fabrication shops. The PDCM district identifies commercial vehicle sales, service, or rental vehicles, or rental facilities, excuse me, and screened storage yards as uses subject to the approval of conditional use permit. So here we have a close-up aerial of the project. In 1995, a plan development permit was approved by the Planning Commission, allowing the development of the site for vehicle service and repair of agricultural equipment. A 4,800 square foot truck repair building, 800 square foot storage room, and a 1,170 square foot office building were constructed following the approval of the original permit and remain as existing. The agricultural equipment business has since vacated the site. The property is fenced in on all sides with 2 entrance gates along the southwest gate frontage. Vinyl screening slats currently exist on the northwest and south perimeters of the site. This is a street view of the parcel looking west from Westgate Road. At the front is the existing office building, and centrally located is the existing repair shop that is topped with that green architectural band there. So Ryder Systems Incorporated has applied for a conditional use permit to use the existing developed site for the rental and outdoor storage of commercial trucks, operating Monday through Friday from 8 to 4:30 p.m. and closed on the weekends. 5 employees will run the operation with a maximum of 3 on site at any given time. Storage will occur at the rear western perimeter of the site and will include 3 service trucks, 5 rental trucks, and 1 52-foot trailer. The existing office will be used for rental operations, and the remaining repair shop will be used to maintain the rental vehicles, and no other site development is proposed at this time. So here we are looking at the proposed site plan. You'll see the 2 buildings to remain, the existing office there towards the front on the eastern side, and the shop there kind of centrally located. We have parking areas, trash enclosures, and mature landscaping around the perimeter and at the frontage of the site. And that's that darker shaded areas there on the site plan. The project requires 18 parking spaces overall, with 4.5 spaces for the required for the office building, and 13.5 spaces for the truck repair shop area. The existing site contains 21 standard parking spaces with a designated area of 14 additional tandem parking spaces for the storage of commercial vehicles. They're shown in red. As mentioned prior, the northwest and south perimeters are currently screened with vinyl slatted fencing. So as a condition of this project, vinyl slats will be added to the 2 existing entrance gates along the eastern frontage, fully screening the rear of the site behind the existing office building. The project site is also conditioned to be permanently maintained free of dirt, litter, and graffiti, with landscape areas to be maintained with healthy growing plant material free from weeds. So the applicant has requested modification of 2 conditions within the permit and the removal of one of the conditions. The 3 conditions are advisory for if and when additional building development is proposed on the site. Since the applicant proposes no new development at this time, city staff has agreed to the removal or modification of these following conditions. City staff recommends that the commission approves the conditional use permit U 2023-0002 with the requested modifications or removal of the previously mentioned conditions. That concludes staff's presentation, and I'm available for questions, and also the applicant and applicant representative is here if you wish to ask them any questions.
Thank you, Greg. Do we have any questions for staff? Can we see that last slide again, the modifications? Thank you. Thank you.
And Chair Seifert, I believe that the applicant has a presentation as well.
Perfect, because that's exactly where we are in this hearing. So if the applicant has a presentation, now's the time. Peter, please state your name and your address for the record.
Chair Seifert, members of the commission, Pete Simmons, Urban Planning Concepts, 2624 Air Park Drive. I'll be brief. First of all, I just want to thank staff for all their help and time getting this project moved forward. Again, Ryder currently is just north of the riverbank or riverbed in Napomo there, and one of the reasons why they're moving to this location is because during these last raining season that we had, they've experienced some flooding on their property and wanted to relocate, and so we've been working diligently with staff to get this on, because Ryder's looking basically to move onto this property. So
That would be the County of San Luis Obispo property, right?
Correct.
Thank you.
Yep. Go ahead. Oh, we're going to go here? Never mind. I'll be real brief. Again, we're located at 2365 Westgate Road, an existing development, existing property that has an agricultural business or an old agricultural business on there. Ryder is looking to actually move onto that property. This shows the existing zoning. Again, they went through that. Again, we're about 1.04 acres in size. Again, Ryder, we're just requesting a conditional use permit for the allowance for outdoor storage as well as for the rental of vehicles. I'll just go back. And when I first came to the staff because when we looked at the conditions of approval, there were about 5 conditions of approval that were somewhat dealing with if the project was going to if it was going to be a new development. And so that's why we kind of worked with staff on massaging a couple of those conditions of approval, namely 22 and 23. We had added some language into that. We worked with the Parks and Rec Department, talked to Scott Christensen about condition 26, about development fees. Again, that's something that's more related to if we were to expand the building, which we're not at this point in time. And then the 2 remaining conditions, 18 and 21, we decided because they are standard conditions, they were fine to remain. So I'm just here to answer any questions that you may have. If there's anything, I know Andre from Ryder is also, I think, on the Zoom call if he has any questions or comments or whatnot, but I'm here to answer anything you may have.
Thank you. Do we have any questions, Commissioner? Commissioner Mohajer?
Thank you, Chair. So I guess this is a question for staff. Do activities such as vehicle detailing and washing count as outdoor services and repair? From the materials we were provided, no outdoor services or repair were allowed. They were all supposed to happen within the existing building. So vehicle detailing, washing, does that fall in line with that definition?
So typically, in order to do regular washing, there would need to be some stormwater improvements done. And yes, if there was a request to do regular washing of vehicles, that would most likely need to happen outside. And that's not the kinds of repair work that we want to make sure happen indoors. Mainly noise and odors. In this industrial sense, we're not so concerned about the visual, although all this will be taking place in the screened yard anyway. So the items, the activities that we really want to make sure are inside the building are those noisy, more heavy-duty repair type activities that could have negative impacts on the surrounding properties.
Okay, so the business here isn't necessarily looking to wash, I guess, the trucks, the commercial trucks they're renting out to the public at this location?
I'd like to ask the applicant to confirm that,
Okay.
please.
It's my understanding that, yeah, they're not planning, this is only planning for rental and storage. And if any maintenance that we have to do, that's going to be on the inside of that maintenance shop that's there. That's my understanding of what's going on this property.
Okay, thank you for that clarity.
Commissioner Blanco?
Yeah, the question, are the rental trucks, are they just like, I mean, how How big are the trucks? Are they box trucks? Just trying to
They
get an idea of
range
the
in size,
size.
they're from light duty to heavy duty. A Ryder rents out light duty, which is more kind of like your commercial vans that you're seeing, up to, I mean, they do Freightliners, which are kind of the big, kind of the Peterbilt trucks. But right now, from my understanding, they're going to have like M2 Freightliners, which are more in the lines of like the Penske trucks that you see out there. That's kind of the size. But they do have, we have one parking stall for a 52-foot Freightliner, and we have the space back there, so we do have a stall for a larger truck. But my understanding is going to be the M2 rental trucks, which are more of a light-duty, mid-duty vehicle.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Frank, why a CUP? Because it's commercial manufacturing? It seems like this fits into the neighborhood with everything else going on over there. Why are we having to do this?
Sure. So within the planned development, commercial manufacturing, both truck rental, vehicle rental, and outdoor storage requires a conditional use permit for the code.
So it's spelled out.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. With no more questions, I'm going to, Peter, I'm going to go ahead and open this up to the public. I don't see any written communications. Do we have anyone on Zoom?
If you would like to comment on this item on Zoom, please go ahead and raise your hand. I see no hands raised.
It's time for any rebuttals or anything else that you'd like to say? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Well, Commissioners, you don't have anything for the public? We're done with questions? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing, and we'll either discuss the item or both and make a motion. Commissioners. Commissioner Dickerson.
No, I think it's appropriate for the area, and they've put thought into it, so I'm fine with the project. I think it's good.
Commissioner Lopez.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I kind of was thinking the same about the CUP requirement, but staff answered that. Thank you.
Commissioner Blanco.
I just, it looks very straightforward, minimally developed at this point, kind of using what's there, makes sense for the area, so, yeah, good.
Commissioner Mohajer.
I agree with the other commissioners, fairly consistent with the surrounding properties. So.
Thank you, Commissioners. I agree with the other Commissioners, and also you're darn lucky to find a place. Places like that are golden. They're just not available, so very lucky. Do we have a motion?
Chair, I'd go ahead and move that the Planning Commission by motion approve conditional use permit U2023-0002, Ryder Truck Rental Storage and Facility Conditional
With
Use
the
Permit.
amendments?
With the amendments as discussed by staff.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Dickerson?
Aye.
Commissioner Mohajer?
Aye.
Commissioner Blanco?
Aye.
Commissioner Lopez?
Aye.
Chair Seifert?
Aye. You guys are good to go. Thank you very much. Okay, at this time, we're going to go ahead and open up for the Hardy Diagnostic, excuse me, planned development permit at 1291 West McCoy Lane. Can we hear from staff, please?
Chair, I have to recuse myself from this one for, I guess, for propriety's sake. So thank you very much.
Okay, sorry I didn't ask. Thank you very much, Commissioner. We'll wait for you to take off. Did I talk to anybody?
Chair Seifert, did we do I might have missed it, but the ex parte?
No, we're going to get to that. We're going to let him go first. Chuck.
Thank you.
Do we have any ex parte on this item? I do not either. Thank you. Okay, we're ready to go.
Thank you, Chair, members of the commission. This is a plan development permit for a new Hardy Diagnostics building on McCoy Road. Here's the site. It's approximately 2 acres in size, just west of Thompson and east of Westgate on the north side of McCoy. Site's been vacant for, I don't think the site's ever been developed, actually. I will point the commission to the building that's immediately to the west of the site in this location here. That is another of the Hardy Diagnostic properties. And this is where Moxie Cafe had been located up until recently. Forgive the pasted together photos, they're a little bit off, but this is a look from across the street looking north. And I wanted to show this picture because this driveway, which is actually on the adjacent site, will play into the proposal. And on the right-hand side of the photo, you see the vacant site there. Here's a more clear picture of the vacant site. To the right is eastbound, and we're looking north. Here's a picture from the existing Hardy site that's to the west. This is approximately at the northwest corner of the property to be developed. Some of the parking area that you see more towards the left will be removed but replaced elsewhere on the existing Hardy site. Approximately where the picture was taken from is where this additional parking will be placed. This will open up to the new site and provide part of the access. And then finally, here's a picture from Thompson Way looking westbound at the site. So it's roughly triangular in shape, although it does have the curve of McCoy there. So here's a depiction of the proposed site plan. Again, just under 2 acres in size. You can see the majority of the parking is in the back, and then on the more narrow portion of the triangular site, this parking does meet minimum setback standards. It's over 14 feet behind the sidewalk, so there's plenty of opportunity for landscape screening along that frontage between the parking and the street. In front of the building or south of the building, there is a retention basin proposed, and it does traverse the frontage for the full width of the building. This site, being one of the last sites in the area to develop, had a difficult time accommodating the amount of runoff that it needs to accommodate to meet state standards and local standards. So the basin is a little bit larger than we typically would see. However, the applicant and staff, both planning staff, recreation and park staff regarding street trees, and definitely engineering staff have worked together to come up with what we think is an appealing basin design. I will note that the proposal is meeting nearly all of the development standards requirements. All setbacks are being met. Landscape area is being exceeded. Minimum parking is being met. The applicant is asking for a modification to building height to allow approximately 5 additional feet of building height, but I'll get into that a little bit later in the presentation. So here you see the floor plans. The majority of the building is single level, and the height is necessary for the types of operations that will be occurring within the building. That will include a good portion of warehouse storage, manufacturing of medical products, and then a small office space, which you see on the right-hand side of the ground floor level. And again, on the left-hand side is the ground floor. And then the second floor, which is really just over the office space, you can see on the right-hand side of the graphic there. So here's depictions of the architecture. If you were looking west from Thompson, the east elevation of the building is what you would be looking at. And then the lower depiction is what you would be seeing if you were looking north from McCoy at the building proper. And as you can see, there's quite a bit of an articulation, lots of detailing, lots of windows for an industrial building, which add to the attractiveness of the building. They've included metal awnings over some balcony areas and the windows. They have clear story windows, as you can see from the depiction, particularly on the upper elevation. And then they also have glass curtain walls where the building steps out. So they've done a good job at breaking up what could have been a very massive looking appearance for the architecture. These are the rear and the side elevations, which won't be readily visible. The adjacent sites are primarily developed. To the north of this site is a manufacturing and yard area. And of course, to the west side is the other Hardy building and the driveway that I mentioned earlier. So here's the rendering of the building, which gives you a better impression of what the building will look like. Good diversity of materials. They're going to be using both split face and smooth masonry block. Banding goes all the way around the building on all elevations. And then you have a cladding that appears to be wood-like, but it is a metal material. Here's a depiction of the landscape plan. And as you can see, the site has plenty of trees proposed. It does meet the requirement of Rec and Parks for the number of street trees. You can also see the basin area in front of the building. Here's a depiction of the basin. You see McCoy on the right-hand side of the drawing. There will be a retaining wall to be able to have this basin accommodate the volume that it needs to accommodate and keep all the stormwater on the site. But the applicant and staff have worked together, as I mentioned earlier, to one, provide some landscaping in the basin area. We also adjusted the street tree locations to accommodate more street trees adjacent to the basin. And we also were able to incorporate one side of the basin as a slope. Early on, the volume of water that was required was leading to a four-walled basin, which we wanted to avoid. And as I mentioned, and I'll mention it again, the applicant was very cooperative with staff, working with all of us to come up with a basin that has a better appearance. So here's some of the details of the landscape and the site development. You see they'll have gabion wall styled benches, metal railing around some of the walkways. They are going for more of a desert theme landscaping with some DG and some cacti. They are using pavers both on some of the patio areas in the front of the building and also in the parking field. Again, that's partially to help accommodate the drainage that was drainage volume that was necessary for this site. And so that essentially concludes staff's presentation. Staff does recommend that the Planning Commission by motion approve plan development permit PD 2023-0003. I am available for any questions, and I apologize, I will step back a couple of slides because I realize I neglected to talk about building height, which is the modification they're requesting under the PD. In the M1 zone, maximum building height is called out as 35 feet. The applicant is proposing just under 40 feet, and that's in order to accommodate the equipment to manufacture the products that they're looking at producing, and to provide adequate screening of any rooftop mechanical equipment, vents, and so forth. As you can see on this elevation, the roof itself is actually at 34, but they're providing approximately 6 additional feet to provide that mechanical screening. And that mechanical screening is actually part of the city's industrial performance standards, that all rooftop mechanical must be screened. So they are asking for exception to building height, but in a way, it's so they can also conform to another section of the code. So I will go back to the recommendation at this point in time, and again, staff's available for any questions. The applicant is in the audience, and they do have a presentation they would like to share with the commission.
Very good, thank you, Frank. Do we have any questions for staff? Commissioner Lopez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Frank, is there on-street parking allowed at that radius of the street? I can't remember.
On that curve, no, there's no on-street parking. The parking will start just beyond the driveway in front of what was Moxie. There is parking on the south side, however.
Right. Okay. And then the second question was, where the truck docks, it's only a 4-foot high wall there, or is it, I think it looked like it was 4 foot high.
In this rear area,
Right on the north side.
I will have to defer to the applicant on that question about the height. I'm not certain.
I'll wait for the presentation. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Mahajer?
Thank you, Chair. So as to the easement, I understand that you guys are removing parking spots in order to make way for the driveway, correct?
Correct.
I'm trying to recall the actual parking lot, but how many of those parking spots are going to be removed?
I will have to look at the plans to determine that, but I know that they are replacing that same number elsewhere on that same property. So
Okay.
there's not going to be a loss of any parking that's existing right now.
Okay, thank you. It's very minimal.
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to ask, and maybe I hadn't looked at the plan closely, but what's going into the detention basin? Is there planting going in there, or what?
There's some area of planting in the basin. The bank of the basin closest to the sidewalk will be planted. There's some of the area that is at the bottom of the basin, and that will not be planted. I do want to clarify that the development proposed is exceeding the minimum landscape requirements. In this zone, it would be 15%, and they're providing over 18%. And those portions of the basin that do not include landscape are not counted in that total.
And thanks, Frank. One more question. The wall for that basin, how tall is that wall?
Believe that wall is 3 feet. They do have some additional height because there is hand railing provided along that edge, because that is going to be the walkway around the front side of the building and also adjacent to the patio space. They are incorporating some of this Santa Barbara sandstone boulders that you see on this graphic will be incorporated into that landscape. This is probably the best show of that, with the boulders along the front side and that wall along the back side. I will ask that the applicant clarify the height of that, though, for you.
Okay, thank you. And just, sorry, one more thing. On the street side, it will be sloping. There won't be a wall there, right?
Correct, correct. And that's where staff and the applicant work together to remove that wall that would have been behind the sidewalk and also have another railing.
Got it.
So we felt that was important to remove that side, give some distance. It does slope away from the sidewalk. And the retaining wall there will be masonry units as depicted.
Got it. Thank you.
Commissioners, I want to just elaborate a little bit on the landscaping within the stormwater basin. So the landscape site plan actually has a section in here where it calls out the types of plants that will be planted there. So it includes European gray sedge, El Campo cape rush, California gray rush, wild rye, and deer grass. Looks like they're all 1 gallon plants, at least size-wise. And then there's a square footage as well that's called out for each one. So it is planned to be planted throughout.
Got it. That's on, I think, sheet L3, is that right?
Yes, that's correct, sheet L3.
L3, okay. Maybe the L3 version I got is a little different. I don't see that, but,
It's at the very bottom, if you see conceptual planting schedule, and you go down to the third little square under there, it says stormwater basin planting,
got it. Okay,
kind of in the lower part of the
yeah.
page.
Some of that may have been updated. The change to the basin to include the slope was only done within the last week. And there was a discussion with the applicant that some areas where the basin would be the bottom of the basin that would have the most inundation and be the wettest, the longest, might not be planted, and that the planting will be along the slope sides.
Got it. Sounds good. Yeah, I think that maybe the plan that's online is a little older or outdated because it shows it a little different, but what's in the presentation, I think, is what's
Correct.
current, obviously. So, yeah, no, sounds good. Thank you.
Frank, I don't understand why why no planting on the bottom. All the other basins have grass or something.
I can ask the applicant to provide more detail about that, but their recommendation was that that area that gets the wettest and stays the wettest would not be planted, and that the planting would be concentrated on the slope going down into the bottom of the basin.
So is that where the DG is or something?
Yes, I believe that was going to be the material. The other item about this is that the design of this basin, in order to accommodate the rate of
Percolation?
that is required, is going to have a layered soil mix and
It's going to be
composite
an
mix
engineered bottom?
to make it as pervious as possible. And so the planting might not have worked well with that layered pervious surface.
So we have, along McCoy, we have other basins. They've been required to put a fence up on the street side. We're not requiring that here?
No, because the slope is gradual enough to where someone won't fall in, and if they do happen to find themselves in the basin, the slope is shallow enough to where they can easily extricate themselves.
Okay.
There is railing on the backside, however. where the
I saw
wall
that,
is.
yeah. That's where the steep fall would be, but, yeah, it's been required on the other basins. I just wondered why this one wasn't. Hey, Mark, I got a couple questions. So the entranceway is pretty close to Thompson Way?
That's correct. Trustee
Do we don't have any conflicts?
No conflicts, no issues with the proposed driveways and line of sight and ability for drivers to safely navigate either in or out of the site.
I've been on the commission a little longer than you. I've never liked the street as far as the speed limit. So, and now we're adding to that, and we're going to have people stopping right after Thompson. They're going to be turning in. Things are going to be happening. It's no longer Moxie, but it is the market. So there's still going to be people coming and going. Is there any chance that we can lower that speed limit?
Chair Seifert, we're looking at reducing speed limits throughout the city. We can apply additional resources to McCoy Lane if you'd like. We're trying to find ways to do low-cost measures throughout the city. It's just there's 100 years of development, and we're now taking efforts to reduce speeds and get people to understand you can get to the same place and reasonable amount of time.
Well, happily, I guess I've been wrong on that street because obviously we don't have a lot of accidents, which I don't know why not. But, yeah, I mean, it's a crazy little street right there, and everybody just barrels through there so fast. And we've had people walking back and forth across that street for years. So with this additional, please take a look at it.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Commissioner Lopez.
No, thank you. We brought that up 8 years ago, I think, about the speed on that street. I remember that.
It's always bugged everyone up here, but everybody down there is fine with it. So just see what you can do. Thank you. Commissioner Blanco.
Chair, sorry, one more question. Thank you. As far as the discussion about the adjacent property on the market and the parking removal there, is that going to be part of the circulation for trucks to come in one way and come out another way? Or is that, like, what's the thought behind the connection on the backside and the removal of that parking?
Thank you, Chair, members of the commission. Yes, the goal was to be able to use that adjacent site for the circulation for this proposed site. Part of that was to provide access to the truck bay at the northwest corner of the building, and then also just provide through access. With this triangular shape, it was difficult to accommodate the building and have circulation go around the building, which was preferred. And this was a solution that worked both for the applicant and for staff in terms of providing adequate circulation. Fire has looked at this and is fine with this plan. And as you can see with the graphic that's depicted here, you can see the semi-truck turning movements depicted. So staff reviewed this and it's acceptable, and we have allowed reciprocal access easements on adjacent properties like this, similar to this configuration in the past.
And the adjacent property that the market's on is owned by Hardy Diagnostics?
Yes.
Okay. And is that just for truck circulation, or can that be other vehicles too, I guess?
That will be other vehicles as well.
And, I mean, being that it's Hardy's property next door too, I don't know if that has any impact on the market and their parking on that aisle, but maybe there's parking elsewhere. I just thought, maybe that would be some sort of conflict or issue with parking for the market. Has that been an issue? I mean, the property owners can probably talk to that, but is that a concern?
The staff looked into that and was also discussing that with the applicant, but the number of trucks is not going to be that many delivering and taking away from the site. And I'll let the applicant comment more on that, but that is a leasee of the applicant. So that would be up to the applicant to decide. We don't see any conflicts. The trucks aren't going to be parking and blocking any of that parking, the vehicular parking, I should say. But the applicant can provide more information on that. I do want to point out the current site has a turnaround, which is now no longer going to be needed. And that's where the additional parking is being provided. So up in this northwest corner, actually it would be the northeast corner of the existing site, additional parking will be provided in that location.
And there currently is, sorry, Chair, just while we're on the topic of that, there's no parking on the curb, but is there parking west of the curb in front of the market? I believe that there is parking over there,
Yes.
street parking.
Yes,
Right. Yeah, okay.
there's parking permitted west of the existing driveway.
Yeah.
And then also along the south side of McCoy Lane, in that curve, there is parking permitted. On the north side of McCoy, it is currently posted with no parking.
Is that going to stay no parking, or?
There's no request from the applicant to provide parking. So
No.
my assumption is that, yes, it'll stay in that same configuration.
Okay, great, thank you.
Commissioner Mohajer, I think I misspoke. It looks closer to 9 spaces that they're taking out.
9 spaces.
That's what it looks like from here.
Thank
But we
you,
can
Chair.
ask the applicant. Do you need to speak? Go
Yes,
ahead.
thank you, Chair. No, I honestly, I had the same concerns a little bit because of the market and the saturation of that driveway is what it's sounding like. I am looking forward to hear the amount of trucks that are going to be coming and going from the applicants, so, thank you.
Okay, at this time, we would like the applicant's presentation. Please go up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Pam Ritchie, and I'm a planner with RRM Design Group on South Higuera and San Luis Obispo, and I'm representing Jay Hardy for the project before you tonight. And the project team has had the opportunity to review the staff report and supports the recommended conditions of approval. And as Frank noted in his presentation, the site utilizes an odd-shaped parcel to create a footprint for the building, meet parking requirements, and accommodate access and circulation. The proposed building is well articulated, utilizing a variety of materials that add interest and texture and help reduce the apparent mass of the structure. And the resulting project, once constructed, will add quality and distinction to the area and be compatible with surrounding land uses. So in addition to myself, the project architect, Dean Smith, is also present tonight. And then Ethan Brannon with Hardy Diagnostics plans to provide the commission with a brief overview of the homegrown business and sort of the motivations for pursuing the project before you tonight. So after Ethan's presentation, the project team would be available for additional questions you may have. And I'll eventually turn that over to Ethan. A couple of the questions that came up I can probably address right now while they're fresh in everyone's mind. And the first one was related to the interior wall height in front of the building, and that is a maximum of 5 feet tall. And then one of the other discussions that the commission had with staff was related to the basin planting plan. And as Dana alluded to, she was reading off some of those materials, the intention is that there would be a fairly dense planting within the basin, and it's a variety of different kinds of species that are aquatic and can handle, levels of water at different times of the year where there's storage in the basin. And another question, Frank did a good job of explaining how the eastern driveway would be where trucks would enter and the loading docks kind of in the northwest corner, and then they would exit through the common driveway on the site to the west. There are actually very few truck deliveries, a total of 3 per week, and after Ethan provides his presentation, he can probably elaborate more about traffic and deliveries. So with that, I'll turn things over to Ethan Brannon with Hardy Diagnostics. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Ethan. Please state your name and your address.
Sure. My name is Ethan Brannon. I'm the Director of Manufacturing at Hardy Diagnostics at address 1430 West McCoy Lane in Santa Maria. Is this the clicker? Okay. Alrighty, so Hardy Diagnostics is a manufacturer of in vitro medical devices, which means we manufacture medical devices that do not directly contact a patient, but are used to identify microorganisms that could be dangerous to human and public health. Presently, our company campus spans 6 properties, one being the Great White Dental Building, which is our most recent acquisition, which we have renovated in 2020 during the COVID pandemic to generate additional spacing between our administrative staff. Our main core address at 1430 West McCoy Lane, and the Hardy Enterprise Center, which is directly to the right of the property, as well as our coined Joshua Building or Distribution Center, which is directly across the street from the Santa Maria Public Market, which was previously the Moxie Cafe. Additionally, just a note for staff and members of the commission that the 10,000 square feet directly behind the Santa Maria Public Market is currently used as overstock warehouse storage for our manufacturing operations, and regularly has deliveries in that location that Pam alluded to, up to roughly 3 deliveries per week, 2 of which are generally 16-foot box trucks, and 1 of which is a 24 to 26-foot semi-truck trailer. So what we do, so again, Hardy manufactures in vitro diagnostic devices in the form of Petri plates for streaking and identification of different bugs or microorganisms. We manufacture dilution vials as well as transport tubes for viral infections, most notably the manufacturing of 20 million viral transport medium tubes, which were used in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic through Franklin Young for the state of California. And then our products, again, our core business is based in culture media, again, being devices ranging from glass tubes to polystyrene dishes, as well as polypropylene and polycarbonate bottles and containers for laboratory and identification use in pharmaceutical applications. Our company grows consistently about 13% year over year, COVID contributing to that significantly in the form of head of household jobs in the location, as well as additional volume, that of which is directly seen and felt by public health professionals in the California region. And our research and development department is constantly working to innovate new discoveries to increase the rapid detection of these dangerous microorganisms, as well as more recent pathogens similar to that of superbugs, which you may have heard in the news, which are resistant to drugs and antibiotics that are currently offered. Again, Hardy's primary campus is at our Santa Maria location, but we do have dual manufacturing capability in Springboro, Ohio, that of which is a one parcel building of about 120,000 square feet, which we have worked to expand over the past 2 years in an effort to relieve the capacity constraints that are created at our current campus due to the lack of additional space and manufacturing capability. The Great White Dental Building, which is now noted as the Crown Building, a fun play on words for us, is now our administrative location and an additional overstock warehouse location located directly next to Gaviel Engineering on West McCoy Lane. And the Hardy Enterprise Center is housing the majority of our marketing and business development as well as internal sales staff for the location. Here are some renderings which staff was kind enough to share, showcasing the building that is proposed at the vacant lot directly next to Valley Glass and directly adjacent to the Moxie and Santa Maria Market location, as well as our overstock warehouse and campus. The proposed layout, which you've seen, our expected headcount projections for the location ensue us to add about 40 additional operational headcount by 2027, increasing total head of household income and payroll of the organization by about $3 million annually by 2027 after the space is commercialized sometime in late Q4, Q3 2025. Additionally, in our manufacturing environment, it is absolutely critical to have additional capacity available to meet the ever-changing needs of the public health dynamic. Our current offering is in tubes, bottles, and Petri plate products, that of which this facility will allow us to double and continue to serve public health professionals as well as pharmaceutical and diagnostic applications in the state of California and worldwide. And I am available for any questions if the chair, commission, or members of the staff have any questions.
Any questions? Commissioner Blanco.
Thank you, Chair. It was mentioned about 3 deliveries a week. Is that accurate? And then what time do those deliveries actually take place?
The 2 of the deliveries are generally just FedEx box trucks, so transfers from out of state, generally from varying locations that could be as far away as New York or as close as right in our backyard. The 1 large trailer truck delivery is our delivery of about 20 skids of polystyrene Petri plates, which are packaged in double bag and cardboard boxes. Those deliveries generally occur between the hours of 9 and 11 a.m.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
No additional questions. Is the architect here that designed the building? Come on up. Please state your name and address.
I'm Dean Smith, architect with RRM Design Group in the Ventura office for 22 East Main Street. One of the things I wanted to point out is that a lot of care was taken to put the truck well in the rear of the project in lieu of having it be in the front yard where trucks were visible. And so when we talk about the basin wall, that's the trade-off, as opposed to what a lot of the projects have on the street is the trucks in the front. So that was important to us to try and screen the trucks. And the other comment I wanted to make was that the circulation that we provided with the reciprocal access is an improvement for trucks, but also for the fire department and their access, because what was there before was a turnaround, and it's always safer to have a through road. And so we've provided the radiuses and things to get the fire trucks all the way around the site. So in lieu of having them go down there and turn around, and hopefully there's a cul-de-sac there for them. So so we changed the cul-de-sac to parking and gave the through road. Those are the two main points I wanted thoughts that came to me while generated from the conversations. If you have any questions, I'm happy to.
Thank you for those. I'm looking here at your elevation, going back to my question that I had for Frank. It does show a fence around the basin. Is that something you're planning on doing or not doing?
The early exhibits did show a fence out by the street, and a lot of basins have that. However, this basin only will have in the neighborhood of 12 to 18 inches of freeboard. That would be standing water in a storm event. That's monitored by a pipe that is extending from the basin floor. So we don't have those kind of safety issues. So the guardrail should not be necessary unless we end up with some steep slopes, but I think the civil engineer has controlled the slopes and made them mild.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. Commissioner Lopez.
Yes, thank you. I just want to clarify, sorry, I'm on my phone because my internet's not working on the computer. On the site plan at the entryway, there's a call out for a double detector check valve assembly. Is that small, tall, wide?
Those can be significant. That's the backflow for the fire sprinkler system.
Even though it's right at the entrance, it's not going to look at any or get in the way of any sight lines? It's right on the right-hand side, on the west side of the driveway?
Mm-hmm. That's a pretty typical kind of position for those.
Okay.
I'm guessing it's going to be like an 8-inch. And, it's going to be rather 6 or 8 inch for that size building. And then also, they do require an FTC.
Yeah, they're
The fire department
significant.
has to be able to access those and hook up to those.
I don't have the sizing at
Yeah.
this juncture, at this point.
It'll
But
be-
you're probably right about the size.
Yeah, it'll be in that range.
Yeah.
It'll
Now,
be a big.
we are aware of the speeds. That we put a fairly wide driveway there, and that's for trucks to get them off the street quicker. It's 34 feet, so that's a little bit safer than having a narrow driveway.
It's just a crazy little area right there.
Yeah.
People speed for some crazy reason, I don't know why, but they always speed up, and then they hit that S, and they're doing a little bit better than the speed of sound half the time, but
Yeah.
we haven't had any accidents, so, yeah, sounds like it's going to work.
Yeah,
Additional questions? Thank you very much.
thank you. Appreciate it.
If we have no rebuttal, no questions, we'll open this up to the public. I don't have any slips in front of me. Do we have anyone on Zoom?
No, no one on Zoom. Thank you.
Okay, we have no public comment. I'm going to go ahead and, do we have any questions for the applicant? We already did that, kind of. Yeah. Public hearing is now closed, and we can bring this back to the commission for discussion and a motion. Commissioners?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I like the project. I like I'm not concerned with the building height. I think the plan development permit allows us to go a little bit beyond, right? The building height. Architecture looks great. And I know on one of the elevations, you show a truck that's leaving the site, right? It's not, there's no parking, because I was looking all over for it, right? It's a truck that's leaving the site. Yeah, I like it. It's a great project.
Commissioner Mohajer?
Thank you, Chair. I agree. I think it's a great building. I think that since we are replacing the 9 parking spots, I don't really see that being a huge detriment. Also, the 3 truck deliveries per week, I don't see that overburdening the easement too much. The height modification, again, for me, not a huge deal, and I think the building's beautiful, so good job.
Commissioner Blanco?
Yeah, I echo the same sentiments. I think, it's a very nice-looking building. I think makes a lot of sense, and it's a tremendous asset for our community to have a company like that here locally, that's great. Talking about employee-owned and all of the potential jobs that can be created, I think it's great. The fact that they're expanding and they want to stay here is awesome. I think the site design makes sense. I think fortunately, owning the adjacent parcel and the circulation, it's good to hear that it's not going to hopefully impact the market next door. Be nice to be able to keep them there. They just got there, and the site looks good. The building looks great. I don't have any concerns on the height myself either. Yeah, I like it too.
It's a beautiful building. Yeah, it's very nice design, nice colors. I love the glass. I think it's going to be a real added feature to that part of the neighborhood. I've looked at that triangle for years. It used to have a bunch of eucalyptus trees on there. They've been cut down for a while. I wondered what was going to happen there. Figures that Jay picked it up. It makes sense. Being part of that whole community there. Yeah, it's a beautiful site, and glad to see you guys expanding. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that by motion, we approve plan development permit PD 2023-0003 for the Hardy Diagnostics at 1291 West McCoy.
Do we have no modifications? We're good? And do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
And can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Lopez.
Aye.
Commissioner Blanco.
Aye.
Commissioner Mohajer.
Aye.
Chair Seifert.
Aye. You guys are good to go. Thank you very much. It looks like. Okay. It looks like we're done with all the public hearings, so we're going to go to other business. Do we have any oral reports from planning commissioners and staff?
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. So the study session tomorrow has been canceled. We don't have any items. And also the July 5th hearing is canceled, and we don't have any items for that date. We are scheduled to meet, though, for a study session on July 6th, and we're going to be presenting an item related to the general plan update. It's the preferred land use alternative, so it's a pretty important meeting. And our schedule on that moving forward is to present this to you as a study session on July 6th, and then at a hearing on July 19th. and then your commission would be making a recommendation on the item to the city council, and we would take it in August to the city council. So just wanted to make sure to get that on your radar that that's coming up. And I don't have any other updates other than that for the schedule, so thank you.
And do we have anything from commissioners? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.